gentlemen.
Here it comes.
150 years of combined experience.
And maybe 5 or 6 worth hearing about.
This is Soundwaves TMI.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Soundwaves TMI. I've said it a million times. If you could only hear what happens before the mics roll. Woo! It's a crazy one this week, guys.
Yeah, I would say so. Are you keeping the part where I said Steve puts the TMI in TMI right before you open the show?
I don't make the news. I just report it. That's all.
Yeah.
I just sharing information.
Yeah, report it. We're using air quotes. You can't see them, but they're there.
Right. But this had to do with Amy. We'll get to it. Amy.
Yeah,
Amy
we'll get
Schumer's
to it.
husband's, anyway, yeah. So, hey, spoiler alert. It's birthday time right now.
Happy birthday. I want to sing, but no one wants to hear that. Happy birthday to Dennis. How about that?
You
Give it up, everybody.
You know what? I'm just going to stop right here and say that Chasta did serenade me on a voicemail. So I got a happy birthday.
Yeah.
It was even kind of breathy. You had a little Marilyn going on there.
I did. And I also had some laughs and some snorts and all kinds of stuff. It's a good time. You got to save that as blackmail someday.
Well, that's what made it awesome. That's great. So we decided to do this goofball thing because today, January 17th, is my birthday, and tomorrow, January 18th, is Steve's birthday.
Yep.
And we always do a combined something or other for birthday weekend, which we'll talk about later. But it just, this is the very first opportunity to do a Soundwaves like anything about our birthdays, because we're always celebrating your birthday in July because we're in the middle of a season.
Yeah, right. That's true. We never do anything in January. I mean, except, write or prepare, or you're working on the movie or something like that. But we never get to do this. So happy birthday to you both. It's funny. We're kind of in the evening of Dennis's birthday, in the eve hours of Steve's birthday. So we're like right between the two. So it really is like a combined joint effort. Happy birthday.
It's kind of like the birthday taint. Is that what you're saying?
It is the birthday taint. That's what I was going for. See, I can always trust you to put the words in my mouth.
Wow. Are we still talking about Amy Schumer's husband here?
It pales in comparison.
Oh,
that's true. Okay, but seriously, can I stop? I just have to stop you both real quick and say, truly, happy birthday. It's so hard every year, because when I go to post about the two of you, I feel so strongly about both of you. And I want to make sure that I'm so connected to what I'm writing in my captions to tell you happy birthday, because you're both like brothers to me. And I hope that you know that that's true, that every year it means a lot to me to be able to proclaim publicly, and I could do so even more on this podcast this year, how much I love you and appreciate you both. I can't even imagine my life without the two of you knuckleheads. It's weird. It's only been 5 years that we've been family, but because I said that in a post to Dennis today. I'm like, I don't remember a time before this. It's weird, before we all did this. It just feels like you've always been here. And I just love the shit out of both of you. So happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sweetie.
Same goes. Of course. Same goes.
You guys are always sweet to me on my birthday.
I do remember a time before you, but those were dark days. I mean, let's be real here.
They were far quieter days, I'm sure. That I would agree with.
Right. Not to say that we haven't had noisy, messy birthdays in the past, and just because we don't necessarily celebrate mutual birthday weekend on an official Soundwaves episode or anything like that, we do still get together at least once a year for a birthday weekend blowout someplace.
Can we talk about that yet?
Yeah, I mean, totally. This year it's going to be the weekend of February 4th. It's not like we're not publicizing that it's a party you need to come to, but we're just telling you
we are now.
At some point, we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to have some drinks, and we're going to end up at Longboard, as we often do, our home away from home. Superbad will be playing. I just think that's hilarious. Whatever weekend I call Kim and I'm like, hey, we're thinking of having our birthday on this weekend. And she's like, great. Who's playing? Superbad. Every friggin' time. So they're
they're our house band.
They
Superbad
are.
is the official Soundwaves.
They're our birthday band. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good birthday.
You know what? It's a good problem to have. Superbad's awesome.
They are.
So if you want to come down and join us, a lot of us are going to be at Longboard the night of the 4th and watching Superbad. Come and buy us a drink and we'll tell you some stories.
I want to hear those stories. Can we tell any pre-birthday stories on the podcast? Are there any safe for podcast?
Probably not, but I'm thinking, my 50th was pretty awesome because J7 Studios was closing, and they were a great rehearsal recording space in Half Moon Bay, and just beautiful. And they had a rent issue. This is when it was post. I can't even think of the name of the place, but there was a place on the other side of the bay that there was this terrible fire and a lot of people died, and it was
the ghost ship.
Yes,
fire.
It was a rehearsal space, but the difference between the two is that like people were living there, and J7 was just like by the book, but the county came down hard on them, and they ended up closing, and so we were the very last thing they did there. It never occurred to me to actually have a birthday party in a place where there's music instruments.
Yeah.
But, man, it turned into a jam session. Everybody got up and sang or grabbed an instrument, and just whether they knew how to play it or not, it was amazing. It was such a great night.
That sounds super fun. We had Jay's birthday, my husband's birthday, over the weekend. Steve, you were missed. Just in case no one knows, or people
I drank enough for both of us, Steve.
Steve lives in LA. He's always invited into our home every day of the week, including Jay's birthday, but he was in LA. You were missed. We almost always used to end up in a jam session because we have lots of instruments in our house just by, I'm married to a musician. So that didn't happen, but it did end up that Cody was playing crazily on drums for everyone to hear. And I mean, everyone, the entire mile radius of our house.
When I pulled up, that's what I heard from down the street. Just boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh, party's going.
And everybody was loving it. So he's like, again. Okay. It just kept going. But that was kind of a weird turn of events because Jay and I haven't had a party. We used to have legendary Halloween parties every single year until we had a kid. And then we haven't had one since. So it's been almost 7 years since we've had a party. So coming full circle is like, we didn't have a jam session, but our son is killing the drums right now. So that was kind of neat. But there is something really special about incorporating music into a birthday party. Because once people have enough drinks, they just start singing and no one cares. And it's karaoke and it's great. I love it.
Well, we really miss having those types of events because we used to have big house parties and stuff. When I lived up there and Dennis and I shared a space together, we would have parties every weekend, and it's not like it is today. You've got a job or you've got work or something like that. But for us back in the day, we worked, quote unquote, at Video Plus, where we sit in the back and we drink and, eat pizza and people come down and Dennis had turntable down there and we put music on and we'd have MTV on and it was a party all the time, and you get used to that. But then, I mean, and not dissimilar to you. I mean, my kids just turned 18, but we were very social animals until the kids came along. It's the same thing. And then all of a sudden, not only do you not go out so much anymore, but people stop inviting you out.
Yeah.
Because they know you can't.
Right.
Right.
And so, it's like I got this beast inside me,
He's ready to get out.
He is, So that's why I always look forward to coming up and doing our Soundwave stuff, because that gives me a chance to relive my glory days. And my friends, they were glory days.
They still are, man. They still
are. Hey, you just said your kids are turning 18. We're coming full circle now. Yep. It's about to go off.
Party at Steve's house.
Slam that door, right if you get work, send a postcard. Yeah.
Peace, kids. Okay, this is a true story. I probably shouldn't tell this, but oh well. So when we had Cody, we had our last Halloween party. He was about 4 months old. So since we had a kid, we thought, well, of course we need to open it to kids. We'd never had a party with children ever, but we're like, that'll be fun. What could go wrong? So we opened the door to kids. They literally, and I shit you not, I'm not exaggerating, almost burned the house down. We were in the middle of the kitchen. And I'm talking and I'm entertaining, hostess with the mostest, getting all the stuff, together. And I smell something burning and I'm like, what's happening? And all of a sudden I realize I walk outside. It's coming from the backyard. These little fuckers had turned on the barbecue and it was melting the barbecue cover onto the barbecue.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's it. Last party. It's all said and done now. So after that was one of like 3 things that happened involving children that night. And I was like, no, parties with children is not a good idea.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's been 6 years now. And Dennis witnessed our the children that were here over the weekend almost tore the house down again, including mine.
Yes.
Mine was the ringleader.
Yep. What is that vehicle that Cody has?
There's two. There's a motorcycle he was going through the house back and forth on, and then there's also the Jeep, the big Jeep.
I noticed that the kids were being very inventive because the thing only went so fast. So it was like moving really slow, and I thought that was by design. And at some point, it occurred to me they turned off the motor and were just pushing it, and then they were rocketing up and down the hall and just blam. It's like, I don't know what that was.
I mean, you would just hear like boom, and you're like, oh my God, it'd shake the house. But do you guys remember that as a kid? Like, I remember, I don't have a ton of memories from my parents having parties because I was pretty young when they got divorced, but I do have a few. And I remember that I was like, this is so cool. My parents have friends, A, and B, they're here to party. And so I would have like so much energy. And it was interesting to watch Cody have that same response to us having our friends over for a big night out.
Oh, yeah.
You guys, did you have any memories like that from when you were a kid?
I mean, I don't have a lot of specific memories of stuff like that. I do remember, kind of being the big ham, wanting to be in the middle of everything and showing off. And all that
Weird.
It was before I crept into my shell and became a hermit.
A hermit crab, yes. We never heard from you again.
My parents didn't have a whole lot of parties. They had friends that came over, and the friends brought their kids, and we all kind of grew up together. And there was running around and craziness, but I wouldn't say a party. Now, up the street from us, there was a couple of people on the block who had parties all the time, and they were awesome. My pal EJ, if his dad had a project, Ed, if they were going to build something in the backyard, he'd invite everybody over and then cook for him afterwards. So it was like this whole neighborhood thing that became this insane party. And I think that's when all that stuff started happening. That's when I started noticing that the adults got a little tipsy at a certain point. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was around that time Dennis noticed they had a fish bowl just inside the door and people were dropping their keys when they came in and stuff. And we wasn't sure what that was all about to begin with, but he figured it out.
But everybody was happy the next day. I don't know.
Yeah. Or hurting the next day. One or the other.
Great. My phone's going to ring tomorrow. I heard what you said on that podcast. Wait a minute. No.
I know. I sometimes forget we have mics in front of us. My parents weren't ragers. Excuse me. My mom wasn't a rager. My dad certainly was. He was so fun. And my mom was fun too, but she was very, very sweet and, Pollyanna and put together and so cute. They used to have these dinner parties, and I don't remember what the name of them were, but they had this name, and it was like a surprise dinner party where they had a secret menu. Have you ever heard this before? And you would order off this secret menu, which had made up words, like you had no idea. So then they would go into the kitchen and they would take your order, and then you would have ordered like a piece of toast, ketchup, and a toothpick. Like something ridiculous. Wow. Is that just something my parents made up and did? Have you guys ever heard of that?
I've never heard of that.
I thought it was this is the 80s. I thought it was like an 80s quirky thing that happened, but apparently it was just to my parents. But
maybe it's a Midwest thing. I don't know.
Maybe they just didn't have enough money to afford food, so this was a joke that they thought.
Do you guys have a teenage getting drunk at the grown-up party story?
Ooh. Well, my dad was the cool dad. So like he would like let us he'd come over, he would take keys, and we would all just stay the night at his house. So like we had plenty of those.
And how old were you at this point?
15, 16, 17, 18, high school, like mid to later high school. My dad was just he was like our best friend, and we could tell him everything. So it like nothing was off board. He knew everything that was going on in my life, my brother's life. And so he would be like, whatever you're going to do, just do it here. And so I was like, all right, rad. I was really pretty by the book, but I would drink and my friends would drink. And so like we'd go out to the lake and my dad would make us margaritas and we'd just sit there in his boat and get drunk. Okay. And then he'd drive us home and we'd pass out. And I mean, it was like, that's probably not good to say in 2023. Maybe he would be canceled if he were still alive. I'm not really sure, but it worked for us and we stayed out of trouble.
You get grandfathered into stuff like that because,
I hope so.
Everybody understands that it was a different time.
It was a different time. My dad is in heaven. He's like, you're telling my secrets. How dare you? But that wasn't a big deal. We had other friends' parents who did stuff like that too.
We had a wedding on the block at one point. I lived on Valdez Way, which was a cul-de-sac. It was a hill, and it was just, it was just one of those blocks where everybody knew everybody else and everything. And so when my next door neighbors, when their daughter got married, they had the wedding reception in the big backyard. So everybody went. and it was great. And I was 14, I think. Was I 12 or no? I was 14, and so I decided I was going to start drinking some wine that was served at the party, and it was like some pink wine or whatever. But I'm cool, so I'm drinking wine with my little 13-year-old female friend there and everything. My dad walks in at some point. And he looks down. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm drinking wine," because I'm like big man in front of my friend, And my dad just kind of gives me this look, and he's just like, "All right," and he walked out, and I'm like, "That's weird. I got away with that. I'm just gonna keep drinking wine, I guess." And so I got sick to my stomach. I'm just, I'm stumbling and everything, and I'd blarg, and it's just like, barf my brains out. And then my dad's just like, "So how'd it go?" Like he knew exactly. And I was right next door, and he could like make sure I got home safe, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And tried to teach me a lesson. It did not stick, but I applaud his,
You went for a whole week without drinking again, and that was very admirable. You're like Spalding from Caddyshack, where you're going around emptying everybody's glasses, right?
Right. Oh God.
Somebody came around the last time we were at Longboard and did that. Like we were sitting outside. And I walked outside, and it was the Christmas party at Longboard, and I walk outside. There was a group out there, and they all looked horrified. And I'm like, "What happened?" They're like, "Did you see her?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" So some woman just kind of like walked in and went and finished everybody's drink that was on the table, and then
has she heard of COVID? Ew.
Well, I'm just like, wow. And I said, something tells me that's not the first time she's done that.
Wow. That's when you need to reflect on your life. Like that might be one of those like lower moments where you're like, I should probably do some checking of my shit. It's pretty bad.
And with some of the people that are at that party, I think you probably got more than COVID to worry about too. I'm just saying, you got the whole communicable smorgasbord going there.
Oh, thank God I haven't said the worst thing on the podcast so far. Yay.
Nice. So on the birthday side of things, I have a complaint.
Oh,
so I'm very disappointed because I share my birthday with Jim Carrey, Muhammad Ali, Betty White, James Earl Jones, all awesome, right? And for 10 years, 15 years, I told people that I also shared my birthday. It was the anniversary of Thomas Crapper inventing the flush toilet. And I got a lot of mileage out of that. And then I looked it up today, and there's like Snopes Thomas Crapper, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to click on that, and it's false.
Oh, no.
All these years I've been living a lie. Thomas Crapper did not invent the flush toilet. He was a plumber, and he had something to do with toilets, which is where we get the name Crapper from, is referring to a toilet. I'm going to go to the Crapper. That's because of Thomas Crapper, but he did not invent the flush toilet. Hence, I have to stop saying that now.
I don't know. Okay, first of all, maybe I'm the only person that didn't know this, but his name is really Crapper. Like that's
Correct.
a real thing.
Yes.
Well, that's the joke. I don't know that anybody's going to call you and be like, no,
you lied about that. I checked it on Snopes.
Kid Rock's birthday is today too.
Kid Rock's birthday is today.
Yeah, so you can scratch out Thomas Crapper and you can add Kid Rock. How's that for? You thought you had something to complain about before?
I was gonna say that used to be a cool thing. I'm not sure that's as cool as it used to be. Oh, I got some winners on my birthday. I share my birthday with Courtney Love and OJ Simpson.
Wow.
But also Bon Scott. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, that counts. That's good.
I feel like we come back around to some coolness, but yeah, it's an interesting trifecta there.
Well, I've got cool classic people like Danny Kaye and Oliver Hardy, but I would say it couldn't possibly be any more appropriate that John Hughes and I share a birthday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There you go.
Stop it. Oh my gosh.
Just, he separated at birth,
Your love for him was written in the stars. Look at that. That's amazing.
And while we're giving birthday shout outs, I just have to point out how many Soundwaves people and creative folks that we've worked with over the years actually have Capricorn birthdays, like starting with Jay on the 11th. Pete Wagner's also the 11th. My teenager Taylor is the 14th. Carol, of course, a good friend of ours and singer. Dean Walker, who I did my first show with, the D&D Rock Show, he's the 20th. And Steve Magincalda, same deal. Early Soundwaves, phenomenal DJ, best live DJ I've ever seen, hands down. Great friend. He's the 21st. And so we have like this block of time, and I'm going out drinking with my pal Dave McCarroll and my other pal Paula, and they share your birthday, Steve. So like this whole stretch of January birthdays. And I'm just like, well, and Micah Nuzzi, I just found out Micah Nuzzi's birthday is with, same as my kid. And I'm like, well, of course your birthday, of course you're a Capricorn, you know?
Yeah. I'm just sitting here trying to figure out what's 9 months before January. It's April, right?
It was a cold April, you know?
For a second, I was like, Valentine's? Nope, that doesn't work. So yeah, April. Spring. I'm just thinking people are getting bunny references in April. I'll leave that right there. Because we're talking about my husband's birthday, so therefore I have to think about his parents, my in-laws, and I'm like, no,
you're making it personal now.
Well, how can I not? You took me down this road.
You took her down that rabbit hole.
Nice.
Well,
on the Soundwaves front, Steve, we have some really good news actually, because last year we did a big deal with Devil's Canyon Brewing Company.
We sure
did.
We
loved them. They treated us like family. It was wonderful. And our friend Joe Hawk, who's on Soundwaves TV, he used to work for and with Devil's Canyon Brewing, and they were very instrumental in creating this amazing recipe for us. So we had a Soundwaves beer premiere last year. And the way these things go is they make a batch, and if it sells and people like it, then they maybe make another batch. And I didn't realize until here we are getting ready to start talking to them again. And it turns out that round 2 is already out in the world.
Yeah. And if you follow Devil's Canyon Brewing Company on social media, you know that they got slammed hard during this last set of storms that we had. They got swamped out completely. They had to close the place down. They had to rip down walls, and Jesus, what a mess. But they're getting themselves put back together. They're actually planning on reopening just in a couple of days. So they've managed to come through just great. The beer is out there, and as a matter of fact, anybody that's listening, if you would like to have up in the Bay Area in particular right now, if you want to get into the groove into your local bar, restaurant, drinking establishment, let us know, because we can hook the proprietors of those businesses up with Mike McKee over at Devil's Canyon, and they'll get the beer in there. We'll throw a party, we'll come out and hang out with you and all that sort of stuff. Any opportunity to crack open a Soundwaves Into the Groove out in public and go, hey, here's our beer, glug glug. I'm there, baby.
Cheers to that. I mean, we did a huge launch party for it last year. That was so much fun. So hopefully we can do what do we call that? A relaunch party? Round 2. Here we go.
It's the sequel.
Cheers again. Yeah, it's a beer sequel. Has that ever been done?
We will be, yeah.
A beer cool. A beer cool. I love that. That's fantastic.
Well, all I have to say before we talk about next week is Niners, Dallas next week.
Oh my God. Holy shit, Storm. There's going to be so much shit talking over the next 5 days or whatever it is. Holy God. Make sure you listen to the Niners game on the Bone. 107.7 The Bone on Sunday. Kickoff at 3:30. We've got pregame at 2:30. We got Lamont Janelli's tailgate party at noon. Can you tell I say this shit in my sleep?
Yeah, Jay rolls over at like 2:00 in the morning. Yeah, I know.
Seriously, though. But no, if they lose to the Cowboys, that is not going to be fun. No. Especially for Lamont and Janelli, because they have so many friends that like are Cowboy lovers, and like they shit talk constantly all season long. And it'd be really bad.
Well, all I have to say is like neither one of you guys actually were in the Bay Area in 1981 when the Niners did this the first time. And all I can say is that say what you will about management, about this and that, whatever, and I'm certainly no expert. I just know that feeling of excitement when it feels like a miracle season. And there's no reason why a third string last dude picked anywhere should be the forerunner going into the Super Bowl. But this guy, Purdy, is freaking amazing. And there's just some kind of miracle juju happening. Fine, they could lose next week, but if they don't, and if they happen to go all the way, it's just going to be one of those seasons,
Oh, yeah. I love that he went from Mr. Irrelevant to where he is now. Also, at the last game, my favorite thing in the world, you guys saw the guy holding the big poster that said big Rooster Brock. That's all I'll say. But I love that ended up on TV. It's freaking phenomenal. No, and truth be told, in my personal life, I'm not shy about this. I'm not a huge sports ball person, but when something, I mean, I have really started to care about it since I started working at the Bone, because we are the flagship for the Niners. And, we interview players every week and we talk to Coach Shanahan. And so I've become more invested because I, have played a role in it now. But even if that weren't the case, you get invested in these kinds of stories because it's a human story, right?
Yeah,
Somebody
absolutely.
who rises up and just does something really magical. That's the only way to explain this. It's really cool. So I'm a bandwagoner, I guess.
Guilty.
Right.
So the Niners just have to not screw this up by like, hey, let's put in one of our other quarterbacks at the last possible second. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Now is not the time.
No, it's not the time.
I saw Jimmy G just like sitting on the sidelines. No, just go send him to get a buffet or something. I mean, just stop. Stop. Don't do it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
He's still pretty to look at, even when he's sitting on the bench. He's on the sidelines.
There you go. He could do that.
Change
he could do that and let, Brock go out and throw the football and like win the games.
Big Rooster Brock.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's talk about next week before we go, because it's I feel we need to set this up.
I'm really excited next week that we're going to have DJ Bear on. DJ Bear is somebody that I met through the Soundwaves family, who has shows on soundwavestv.com if you'd like to go check it out. But I just think he's such a fascinating human. I watched him from afar and I watched him dancing from afar. Yeah. We will talk about that on the podcast for sure. But he's such a fascinating human, and we're going to have him on the podcast really to talk about the power of music. And I would even go as far as saying his obsession with music and where that comes from and how it's been healing for him and helped him get through his life story, if you will.
Music means a lot to us, obviously, to the Soundwaves family, to the three of us in particular. But for Bear, music was a life preserver. It was something that was in that ocean of despair that he was able to hold on to, and it kept him afloat. It kept him alive, and it kept him moving forward till he could get to where he is today. And it's a powerful story, and it's an important story.
So we just, we're the fun show. This is the fun podcast, and hopefully you're, listening and laughing and having a good time with us. But we're gonna have a different vibe next week. So just wanted to let you know in advance, and it's an important one. So we'll be back to being goofballs the week after, but I
think this shows the balance. That's actually something I take a lot of pride in.
Same.
With this group on the TV show. When we're on TV, and we can go from being really silly, like on the Christmas show, for instance.
Right.
We go from being really silly to taking on a topic that's incredibly hard, like suicide, and walking through that together. And I think that's important because it's real. Right. And we're all about being real and bringing those topics to the forefront. So I will say it will be a heavy conversation with DJ Bear, but it will also be light and fun because that's also such a big part of who he is. And he is hilarious and wonderful. And he'll bring the magic to the podcast next week. So you're going to want to listen for sure.
It's going to be something. All right. I think that does it for us. If you are in the Bay Area, remember to tune to 1077thebone.com or on the radio station. Do it old school on the FM and listen to Chasta every single day on the Lamont and Tonelli show, as well as from 10 to 2 p.m.
I'm all over the place. You cannot miss me, or you can't get away from me is probably a better way to say it.
Hey, you know what my wife said today? My wife said she was listening to the ALEXA. I'm not going to say it because it's single turn on.
Right.
But she was listening to the Bone, and she says, I love hearing Chasta talk. It's like having a friend in my house.
Oh my God.
You did
Stop
say that.
it.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
That's so nice. Mission accomplished then. But it's a little tainted coming from her because we are actually friends. I am actually a friend in her house. So there's that. She really can't get away from me. Also, make sure you tune in to The Birthday Boy with Soundwaves FM Saturday nights at 11 on 1077 Bone.
Hey, boss, you know what I haven't told you yet?
Oh,
this
Lord.
week's show is going to be all my favorite songs because it's my damn birthday show.
Okay. Well, true story. And you can call me out if I'm lying. I never tell you what to play or what not to play.
That is
so
true.
You do you, baby. You do you.
Well, we'll see if you're still saying that after the show this week.
Yeah. If this podcast never makes it back to air, you'll know why.
Sir Mix-a-Lot, that fits inside the...
oh, sure.
The
yeah. Unedited. There goes the license. Rip that up. Throw it out the window.
All right, everybody, we are done. We are out of here. We're going to see you next week. Be sure to check us out on social media, Soundwaves TV across the board, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, hey, you're listening on January 18th. Happy birthday, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to say, wish these yahoos happy birthday on social media. Happy birthday. We love you.
Got to be one of those send a person a drink things or something, isn't it?
Yeah, right?
Ooh,
There we go.
I mean, at least a beer emoji.
Oh, okay. I'll supply my own beer. Soundwaves TMI, featuring Chasta, Dennis Willis, and yours truly, Stephen Kirk. The part of the announcer was played by Kelly Ogden. Soundwaves TMI is presented in part by the Longboard Bar in Pacifica, California, a world-class music venue and neighborhood bar, all under one roof. So please like and subscribe to Soundwaves TMI wherever you are listening from. And please consider helping us continue our mission of lifting and supporting independent music and the Bay Area music scene by becoming a Soundwaves patron. In exchange, you'll be the first to see and hear weekly shows such as Soundwaves TV, Soundwaves FM, and the Soundwaves TMI podcast, as well as exclusive content. Just go to patreon.com/SoundwavesTV. And for all things Soundwaves, follow us on all the social medias at Soundwaves TV, or go to soundwavestv.com.